masculine about me today. My next very important item to bring before you, I'm going to tell you a story about a fine young lady, went to a private school from pre-K until high school. Her parents didn't want to send her to this failed public school, but the only high school that was teaching and having this dual enrollment nursing program was Toho High. This little girl is my granddaughter, and do you know what happened there? Sent by you people, the Board of Education, due to the fact that the challenges of the dual enrollment program and the lack of consent in nursing instructors, you people failed her. You failed her because you ended her class because you were not able to get the teachers. After 3 years
Ms. Colonna,
of
your time
learning.
is up. Thank you so much. Ms.
I will
Colonna,
not
I
stop
would
because you took
appreciate
3 years of
Ms.
my
Colonna.
granddaughter, and I will finish what I have
Ms.
to say.
Colonna, Ms.
How can you
Colonna,
honestly
please stop. I will
be
recess the
a
meeting. It is
guardian
recess
of
the
a
meeting.
child and not know what you're talking about? The education program is failing your students. And
The Osceola County School District has failed our students, especially some seniors. Osceola County has literally lost a generation of young people. Locking down schools was the biggest mistake ever made over a virus that did not affect children and had a 99.9% recovery rate. The students were made to attend school online, which I can tell you does not work for many students. They no longer had a routine and lost interest in school. They needed the personal contact and interaction with other students and their teachers. It is very sad when parents are contacted 1 month before graduation and told that their student is in serious danger of not graduating because they are failing math or English and have not been attending school or cutting classes. Why is the school waiting to address this problem 1 month before graduation? Why wasn't the issue of skipping class or school not addressed as soon as their attendance and grades became an issue? And why were poor grades and absenteeism allowed to continue without any consequences or discipline? I am not excusing the students for the lack of responsibility, but these issues should have been stopped as soon as this behavior started. We have already heard that teachers are also frustrated and want to know how they can teach a class when about half of the students are not present.
I am truly disgusted of this board. Things that I have been reached out to on advocating for students at a specific high school, Liberty High School. I've been advocating for students who has been sexually assaulted. Things have been said to the administration. Nothing has been done. Yet, they have not done anything for these students. We expect these students to go home and feel safe. We don't know what type of environment that these students go home to. None. We expect them to come to a learning environment and feel safe if they can't feel it at home. But yet, when we do reach out to these administrations, they're told that they're lying and nothing's done about it, or the parent is called and nothing is done about it. Or they said they haven't reached out to the main source, which is the principal. I'm not going to say any names, but I am here to advocate for students that will be coming up here to speak. I am by far disgusted of graduating from this high school. Nothing is being done. I even started a petition to remove the principal of this school. It has 300 signatures. It's not to the school board, it's to the governor. And nothing is being done for these students. These students do not feel safe on this campus.
Okay, I'm a student, right? For months, I was sexually assaulted way back in September by a student that I was friends with at the time. For months, I wrote multiple statements, wrote upwards of 12 statements, half of which were lost. Every other statement has been dismissed. Every other statement that I've submitted to my principals, nothing has happened. Until I got my mother involved, we spent months trying to get a meeting with my principal. We finally got a meeting. She sat there. She dismissed everything that I said. The millisecond that I brought up being sexually assaulted, she told me she did not believe me. And she dismissed everything I said. And I quote, not even and I quote, sorry, I kid you not, I had a C, a D in English? That's why she dismissed everything that I said. Told me I was lying. I couldn't be assaulted because I had a D in English. Because that's how that works.
Did you go to?
That's cool? That's okay?
Did you go to law enforcement?
I tried. They asked me if I wanted to press charges. I said I needed to think about it. I came back the next day, and they told me that I was no longer a credible source because I waited too long.
Did you ever talk to the SRO or any law
I
enforcement?
did. At my school? Yeah.
What, do you know his name?
He doesn't work there anymore.
Was this last year?
No, it was this year. He just doesn't work there.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what else you want me to say. I mean,
No.
Is the situation being looked at? Dr.
No.
Pace?
she doesn't look at it anymore. I asked her, even still, 2-3 weeks ago, I've been up there to try to get a meeting with her. I wrote multiple statements up until this point because I'm still being harassed by the same dude that assaulted me. And every single time I try to get a meeting with her, I'm ignored. I've made meetings with her. I've set times, and I've been told, okay, you can have this meeting. She's not there.
Tanya, do we have her name and phone number?
Yep.
I'll be reaching.
Hi, I'm a junior at Liberty High School, and about a month and a half ago, I was sexually assaulted off campus. I didn't know what to do or who to tell. And not only that, it's a traumatic experience that you shouldn't have to go through. I eventually decided to go to the school about it, which is a scary thing to do for me, but I did it.
Could
I
I
would-
interrupt you 1 second, ma'am? I apologize, but it just dawned on me. Could we make sure the video is off? Because it's identifying our students to the public, and I don't care to see them victimized from that. So while the students are talking, Dana, could you do that?
And nothing has been done. To state, they have been reported before coming to me. I would have reported them right away if they've never been reported, but as they've stated, they've been reported multiple times. Now I'm being told that they were not reported, and I failed to do my mandatory report. These students trusted me. The people in charge when making these statements and making these statements and what happens, they are given no contracts, which basically is a hush contract. If you talk about it or to the person, you will get suspended or expelled. These students are forced into this contract, even if they do not sign it. And there's multiple students that have said they've been forced into them. But what happens to the violator? The person that's done the harm, they only have a contract. So just like those women that came up just a few moments ago, they're seeing the person that has physically assaulted them. How would you feel if somebody physically violated you and you see them every day and there's nothing you can do besides sit there and try to get through your day, and you have to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it? And I feel so sorry for these women and whoever else has been harassed or sexually assaulted, and I am here for you. Some of my students have told me after the 5th time of reporting, they stopped because nothing has changed. One student has reported it 7 times on one individual. That person has pushed her down the stairs, pushed her into the bleachers.
Ma'am, I'm looking out for you when I tell you this. Given the state law on your reporting responsibilities, I wouldn't be going into,
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm just looking out for your certificate,
Okay.
okay?
I
I
apologize.
recognize the good faith, what you're trying to do, but I just would not.
I understand.
Reference of the books. Earlier, Dr. Pace made the presentation on the what parents can select for their students' level of access to school media center. And so I'm just going to repeat the 3 options. I'm going to do it backwards. No access. The student is not permitted to check books out of the media center. Second is limited. May check out books in the media center, but nothing involving mature content. And the last one is unlimited, which is full access. Mature content may be involved. We have a new Supreme Court Justice who is a woman who can define woman. We have a superintendent who can define morals. So who defines mature content? Is Mr. K going to define mature
Taking
content?
hundreds of charter school students and putting them in an overburdened, overpopulated school system does not benefit their education and harms the public school. Putting hundreds of charter school students in a bus system you don't even have enough drivers for certainly isn't for their educational well-being. After hearing some of the stories of local schools and other things in the newspapers and news about physical altercations in schools, putting these hundreds of successful students in these schools with these issues is downright frightening. Your mission statement is to watch out for their education. Working with these charter schools, helping them with stability, benefits the schools, the public as a whole, and the students
Thank you, Mr.
themselves.
Ranter. I appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, just for those watching, sir, you're represented by counsel, but it's more than the financial debacle. Guy who asked you to write the letter, there are 3 other major issues. The lack of certified teachers, instructional issues, and safety security issues. It was only after the state came in that security issues were addressed. So please don't come in and just paint this picture, it's just financial. It is more than financial. I'll rest there and have your counsel present the plan.
That would be the
Right.
owner of Markot's. However, I realize we're not going to debate this.
Thank you.
It
Thank
will be
you.
addressed in court, and reading it in its entirety.
I have
simply my
offered him
statement.
the opportunity to get with us ahead of time to try and work out these issues. I have not heard from them about a date they'd like to get together.
Well, that's what the administration hearing is for, and
No, that's not what the
Thank
hearing
you,
is
Mr.
for.
during the
Koppenbacher,
first 2
thank you.
years
We can,
of the previous administration having issues.
Thank you,
Now that the
Mr.
school's
Ranter.
successful, suddenly it's a problem.
Mr.
Frank, do you
Koppenbacher, if
think
you have
there's
any
safety and security
additional
issues that are
comments, you
worse
can
than
do it in
yours?
your.
About a couple of things. The first thing is about the attempt or desire to close the American Classical Charter Academy, partially because of their default on rent, I understand. But it sounds like they're excelling, the students are excelling academically. So I guess my question is, why would the district approve a 10-year contract with the Bezos Academy for $1 a month for rent, but not save a district, or save a charter school that's actually doing good in our community? So that's just something that I highly spoke out against with that contract. So that's just another incident.
I have watched for a whole year as we come every 2 weeks here, and we have been exposing everything that has been spoken tonight. People expressing their concerns, only to be scoffed at, excuses made. I was appalled 2 weeks ago when we brought a specific title a month ago, and I'm sorry, Mrs. Deborah Pace, and you told all of us that in a month you have not had time to go through the book. One thing has been made abundantly clear is that the board and the superintendent, with the exception of Mr. Arguello, which is the one that is always bringing things to light, are out of sync with the
I was
community.
watching the meeting from home. Again, my husband was addressed. Prior to this meeting, when I came to speak before, we weren't to address the individual board member, but tonight, everybody seems to be addressing them. So, Mr. Arguello, again, you brought up my husband. Been here a year. Beginning of the meetings, August, you were told the difference between vendor, Oasis, and business partner. Again, once tonight, you try to harass us by putting them all in one category and saying that we should not be in the schools. There are 3 separate categories. We come to the school as business partners. We are not being paid, as you continue to say. You keep saying this. You show no facts that any contracts were made, anything was done. I waited. I know there's policies for everything, but every time a board meeting comes up, you happen to bring us up. You bring up peeing in a police car. That was, you were talking about me.
As a
from
dean,
2000
I spent countless hours building up my students and trying to get them to just get along with each other and figure out ways to move forward in life, even though life is giving you a whole lot of lemons. As a 5th grader, we had the 5th grade teacher, we had this thing called skill streaming, sort of like character development, same things, structured play where you learn how to lose and be okay with losing and learn from that so you can be better next time around. If you are one of my students way back in the day when it was okay to give sentences, I hope I'm not telling on myself, Mr. Kroppenbacher, don't call the state on me. I used to have
You're a
them,
West Point grad. I remember that.
I used to have them write sentences, right? But instead of the, like Bart Simpson, I will not talk in class, I chose a quote from Charles Swindoll. And it goes like this: "The longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on life. Attitude to me is more important than facts. It is more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances, than failures, than successes, than what other people think or say or do. It is more important than appearance, giftedness, or skill. It will make or break a company, a church, a home. The remarkable thing is we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the fact that people will act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play on the one string we have, and that is our attitude. I am convinced that life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it. And so it is with you. We are in charge of our attitudes." So I tried to drive that home. You could lay out everything in the world for these kids, for adults even. But at some point, you have to have some personal responsibility to go get it, to wrap your hand around it and bring it home.